Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the latest album to be released by EDM artist Kayzo. Hayden Capuzzo, aka Kayzo, is a young DJ and electronic music producer based in LA, California. I would say he's one of the more interesting artists to come out of this current wave of EDM, as he tends to blend various musical styles in his mixes and live sets. This embracing of different genres definitely makes for great energy. It's very interesting to listen to. His own music tends to feature elements of EDM subgenres such as dubstep, hardcore, and hardstyle, and he mixes that with rock subgenres such as punk and metal. He first hit my radar back in 2015, back when he released some collaborations with another artist, Sullivan King, one of the rising stars of that contemporary wave of EDM as well. New Breed is Kayzo's third studio album, and I'd say it's a decent follow-up to his 2019 sophomore album entitled Unleashed. I've listened to Unleashed plenty of times, and that album featured an eclectic blend of the aforementioned musical styles. And I would say that New Breed is definitely an expansion of that type of sound, that energy. It all meshes in a very cohesive way, maybe more so than the previous release. It's high energy for the most part, and I would say it does sit on the longer side compared to most EDM albums. New Breed is a total of 20 songs, clocking in at about an hour in runtime. As always, I'll be giving my thoughts and highlights track by track, starting with the first entitled Underground. We've got a spacious and mystical intro that's full of fluffy synths, and the mix is drenched in reverb. This ambient style is gorgeous, and Kayzo gradually introduces the main synth riff, that melody. It tastes a lot like an electric guitar, and Kayzo blends that with metal drum samples to flex that rock influence that he always wears on his sleeve. Once we finally reach the drop, it's released in the form of energetic EBM, or electronic body music. There's two separate break sections, each with unique synth riffs that are both sick in their own right. The drum grooves also change in each section, as the first features a steady kick on each beat of each measure. The second section switches up to a simple dubstep groove, and it's a pretty fluid transition. This is a solid intro track that does prime the listener well with a taste of what they can expect from the entire project. Track number 2 is entitled Cyber Death. This song has a ton of energy. The instrumental features a catchy melody, vocal melody that's pitched up and is distorted. The lyrics that we can hear repeat, thought I could replace you, but you're stuck in my head. And I know I couldn't save you, but I cannot let go. There's also a massive vocal sample sprinkled throughout the song that repeats the phrase cyber death, which sounds awesome. It's big and it's crunchy and it's just giant. I enjoy the simple electric guitar riffs that we hear leading into the drops as well. The first drop is what I would consider to be dubstep. The synths are slippery and slimy here with plenty of automation on them. The second drop switches things up, hitting the listener with a groove that's closer to what I'd consider to be psytrance, in terms of that repeating bass timbre, that synth. The drums follow a steady rhythm as well, emphasizing the 4 beats per measure. The bridge features a drum groove that has more of a metal flavor to it. There's also police sirens, and the vocal melody makes another appearance. Eventually, this leads us into the final drop, which switches back to that awesome original dubstep groove we heard at the beginning. With that, we transition into track number 3, entitled The Sickness. This was one of those singles that was released during the album rollout, and I've got to say it's quite the banger. It blends rock elements with electronic elements in an organic way. The intro is airy, introduces the listener to the song with a synth arpeggio that sits in the background, and the main vocals sit front and center. The vocals are decent and they are prominent, and I especially enjoy the melodies we can hear. I'd say they fit more of a pop-punk aesthetic, which the song also showcases with more of an EDM drape laid on top of it. This is most noticeable during the drops, as Kayzo hits the listener with a future bass style sound here. And we've also got a bridge after the first drop that brings in more of the rock energy. We've got the drums, synths, and some electric guitar power chords. The screams that we can hear leading into the second drop are also awesome. The second drop switches the rhythms in terms of the synths. They follow a steady triplet pattern here, giving us a different taste of the same energy we heard in the first drop. The vocals in the section after the second drop are also wonderful. The vocalist Ghost Kid taps into a sung vocal style that flexes a nice vocal fry. He also screams during the outro section, which is pretty cool. Thematically, the song touches on themes of depression and internal struggles. The lyrics during the bridge are my favorite, as we can hear him singing, "Just break away, 'cause there's nothing left to lose. So make a change. When you've found the truth deep inside you, break away before it is too late. Just leave it all behind. You're the melody that makes you feel all right." What follows is track number 4, entitled "War," featuring OST. This is a sleek tune that features pop-punk vocals, and the production is closer to that contemporary sound of bass music. The drums are a blend of rock drum samples and effective EDM drum samples sprinkled in there. The drops follow a dubstep groove with clean bass notes that feel like power chords, as they prominently hit one note every 2 measures. They're very sustained in that sense. This simplicity does help make the song more memorable. The follow-up drop section features chopped-up bass hits and screaming vocals. I already know the pits would bust wide open during this part at live performances. We gradually transition back to the original drop, this time featuring extra background vocals that carry new melodies that are presented at this point. And just when you thought it was over, Kayzo brings the listener back to another chopped-up drop section, featuring more screaming and different types of bass chops. The energy during this part is awesome, and it is very angry. Thematically, the song touches on conflict, and it uses war as a frame of reference. During the intro, we can hear the singing. "So where will we go? Will nobody know? The battle is done, but the war's never done. One more time you've crossed the line. For the last time, this is war." The lyrics during the bridge also expand on this theme, as we can hear, "This is war. Yeah, you ignored all the signs. Seen this before." Track number 5 is entitled "Meet You in the Sound," featuring Phase 1 and Aaron Pauley. This is another sleek tune that blends pop-punk energy with bright bass sounds. There's prominent vocals throughout the tune, and the instrumental features a lovely bass guitar, diverse drum samples, and different synths in the background that help outline the chords of the song. The first drop hits us with some melodic bass, featuring 2 distinct synth melodies that gradually become beautifully interwoven. The drums highlight a steady dubstep groove that is further emphasized during the second drop. This drop is different, as the drums are more syncopated, and the bass melody is shining through with its own distinct rhythm and syncopation. I also love the brief hardcore flavor transition, which features a distorted kick drum hitting on each beat of every measure. It's a very fluid transition. It feels so organic the way he just seamlessly switches styles. The following drops are very similar to the first one, though. I wasn't really able to hear many notable differences. But there is an awesome section at the very end of the song that features a heavy metal groove, which is honestly the cherry on top for this decent song. Thematically, it is vague, but it seems to be about connecting with others through music. As we hear during the bridge, "Do you hear melodies from your soul? Ancient incantations to guide, to follow. I swear I hear them too." I'd say it's a warm sentiment for this beautiful track. Track number 6 is entitled "Gateway," featuring Jiqui. We've got big dubstep energy here. It's more in the vein of rhythm, if you're familiar with that subgenre, with its big bass chops during the drops. The bass synths are grimy, distorted, and they genuinely sound great. We've got some reverb on them too, which helps complement the dry drums as well. The bridge introduces a simple guitar melody, which leads us into the following drops, and the drums also have more of a metal flavor to them, which is further accentuated by that thick electric guitar riff that builds up into the final drop section. Here the bass chops are sustained, and the drop overall just feels more aggressive. After one listen, I just already knew that the Wooks are going to love this song a lot, and I cannot wait to hear it live. Track number 7 is entitled "Dead Awake," featuring Banshee. This point is where the album starts to get a bit more interesting. The intro is quiet here, featuring a sample and like a vocal sample and some quiet kick drums that let you know the music is still playing. It just gets so quiet. Suddenly, electric guitars and hi-hats enter the mix, and we're thrown into an 808 beat with Banshee's distinct screaming style. I love her tone, as there's almost no pitch to her screams, so it's close to death metal growls in that sense. But they feel more like hollow shrieks. There are sections that feature singing, and there's tons of reverb and auto-tune on her voice to create a big contrast in terms of textures. Eventually, Kayzo introduces a synth ostinato that brings more melody to the song. Thematically, Banshee touches on themes of suffering, and the vocals feature plenty of repetition, almost as if structurally alluding to how internal struggles are ones that never seem to end. For example, at the beginning, we can hear Banshee scream the lyrics, "Every day is the same. Wake up, go to bed, cry myself to sleep. It's an interesting tune, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it, but it is definitely cool. It is certainly one of those more interesting cuts to come from the album. Track number 8 is entitled Burn It Down, featuring ATLiens and Adam on Earth. The intro features chugging electric guitars and death metal vocals provided by Adam on Earth. The instrumental during the verse sections tastes a lot like death metal. There's minimal lyrical content, but we do get a full verse during the intro of the song. We can hear the growled lyrics, "No fear in sight, inside your head and in your mind, burn it down." The drops switch the energy completely, hitting us with dubstep, complete with distorted sustained bass tones and some automated elements. The bridge brings back more of that metal flavor, with stuttering kicks that feel like blast beats and plenty of screaming and growling to match. The final drop is different as the kicks change here, and there's more sense of progression with subtle shifts in the bass hits and good use of space and reverb. I'd say it's a decent track, and I think the drop sections would have been stronger had the producers opted for a different style of dubstep production. It just feels very minimal, which can be effective if you consider how high energy the verses are, but I feel like they could have gone way higher in terms of the energy for the dubstep drops, but that's just a personal choice. Track number 9 is entitled Newsflash, featuring Kamiyata. The song is awesome. We've got underground alternative rapper and vocalist Kamiyata hopping on the track. He brings his unique vocal style to the table, and I've been a fan of his for a minute, so this was a pleasant surprise when I saw him on the track list. The instrumental mainly features metal drums, chugging electric guitars, and a blend of rapping and screaming. There are 2 distinct drum grooves present here. The first is the metal-infused drive, and the second is more hip-hop inspired. And the background music also changes with each section, which helps highlight that difference. During the hip-hop section, we can hear a different kick drum with minimal pitched elements and a staccato synth ostinato that's sharp and melodic. Thematically, Kamiyata raps of feeling lost, but keeping one's mind busy in order to keep it moving. My favorite lyrics appear during the hip-hop flavored refrain. "I just been plotting in my mind how to get my bands up quicker. I just been hungry with my dogs and y'all look like dinner. The answer is why I'm so fucked. Social suicide. The wall is against my back, but I feel alive. Run it for me one more time." This song is one of my personal favorites to come from the album, and I would say you should definitely check out Kamiyata's music for sure if you enjoy this tune. Track number 10 is entitled Moonlight, featuring Sick Brain. This is a punk-infused track that features varying EDM styles in the instrumental, and alternative independent artist Sick Brain joins Kayzo here, providing the vocals. She's another artist that I've been following for a bit, and it's awesome to see her make an appearance here. Her vocals here are a blend of whispers, screams, and singing, but there's not a ton of melody to talk about, as her singing does feel detuned and atonal for the most part. Lyrically, the song is a bit vague, but I do get a sense that there's a lot of romantic and angry energy here. We can hear Sick Brain screaming, "Moonlight tripping in the dark, blood type kissing on my scars, outside, under the stars, who the fuck do you think you are?" The song starts off with a quiet intro that feels wet and slimy, mainly due to that vocal sample. This then leads into a big rock-infused sound, featuring syncopated drums and guitar riffs. Halfway through the song, we switch to a drum and bass drive, which is really sick, and it kicks the song into a new gear, and the screaming on top of the instrumental just works well. The song feels fluid in its progression, as the drums are constantly changing, and it does help with the pacing. It's a brief tune, but packed with a lot of fun and energy. We transition into track number 11, entitled Poser, featuring Connor. The album pivots into a pop-punk direction here. The instrumental is pop-punk all across the board. Vocalist Connor brings vocals to the table that honestly sound like suburban America in the early 2000s. The instrumental does feature plenty of electric guitars and a catchy riff, I have to admit. The drums are kind of like a pop-punk groove with a subtle EDM flair to it, just due to the samples that Kayzo uses. I have to admit the vocal melodies are catchy and the song is quite the earworm. The drops are nothing special though, they really just highlight that guitar riff, that melody they follow. We've got minimal synth elements present at the drops, mainly just chops that come in at the end of every couple of measures. The second drop section is more interesting as Kayzo does sprinkle in new melodies played by different lead guitars, and it creates a nice tonal blend. Also, something minor, I really love the syncopated piano chords that we hear during the very end of the song. I like it when songs have proper outros. This is the few of the album that does. Thematically, the song is pretty simple, and the chorus does highlight it best. Out of time, the good days are over. Out of line, far away from sober. I'm still not living right, but I'm getting closer. I'm still not living right, but I don't want to be a poser. It seems to emphasize being genuine in your feelings, not masking one's suffering, but instead being aware of how you are feeling. With that, we transition into track number 12, entitled Love Me, Hate Me, featuring Dwayne and Cray. This is another tune with big pop-punk energy, specifically during the verses. Dwayne's vocals are full of character, and they are all over the place. I think they are the best part of the song. He sings for the most part, and there are minor screaming elements here. The drops feel like drum step, packed with an upbeat drum pattern, and steady synth melody that emphasizes that high energy. It's very fast. I like the timbre of the lead synth. It's clean, it's tasty, kind of like some Skittles. The second half of the drop features more singing and the pop-punk drive, of course. Kayzo's girlfriend, Cray, joins the song during the bridge, and she sings during the section leading into the second drop and throughout the second drop. I'd say her vocals are okay, they're alright, and they fit more of a pop style than pop-punk, but I guess it makes for an interesting blend. The vocal chemistry, I think, does work, and together both vocalists have some call and response elements during the build-up to the second drop. I also like how Cray's vocals sound during the outro. Her voice is soft and it's just warm. Thematically, the song feels like a duet being sung by a couple that's at odds with each other. Tons of tension is present, and it's clear that neither party really knows what they want. The chorus is pretty clear about it when you hear all the oxymorons. They sing, "If you love me, set me free. If you hate me, stay with me. You're the last thing that I need, but I hope you never leave." Track number 13 is entitled Bottle of Rain, featuring Poor Stacy. This tune has some emo pop energy to it. Poor Stacy's vocals are okay, and I'd say the instrumental does complement them well. The production features an upbeat pop-punk pop drum groove. It's very weird. But it works, and there's moody guitar chords in the background, and a subtle sliding bass line. The music itself is pretty repetitive, and it does have a lower tempo than previous tracks, which does help the song feel more distinct when you compare it to the rest of the album. Overall, though, it's not much to write home about. Definitely something you can passively listen to, and you just wouldn't really be missing much. Track number 14 is entitled New Breed. At the intro, we can hear a catchy vocal sample that's chopped up, and there's no discernible lyrics present. There's big EBM and psytrance energy in that first half of the first drop, and the second half switches into a dubstep groove. The synth timbres that we hear throughout this whole section, honestly, are just insane. They're all unique and crispy in their own right. During the bridge, a clear vocal sample can be heard, repeating the phrase, "a long time waiting." The second drop screams Kayzo's unique style. He's got a distinct sound that is just special, mainly hitting the listener with different timbres that alternate so quickly, so the listener is just bombarded with a bunch of different sounds and flavors. We transition into track number 15, entitled Shit Show. We've got a fast guitar riff that is laid on top of rock drum patterns for the intro and the verse. There's no lyrics at all, but the song does have plenty of synths and melodies that will definitely keep your ears occupied. The first drop section features big drums that are hip-hop infused, featuring thick kicks, claps, and stuttering hi-hats. The melodies consist of scratchy bass timbres that sit in the center of the mix, and there's also electric guitar riffs that pop in to highlight the transitions. The bridge has big sustained synth brass hits looming in the background, and the guitar riff does return. We gradually transition into the following drop section, and here, Kayzo switches up the synth timbre to something that just feels so cool. It's ultra vibrant and crispy. That's the best way I can describe the taste. It's almost like some ice-cold monster. This is another highlight for me. The energy on the song is just insane. We transition into track number 16, entitled Lost My Way. Here the album pivots again. The intro features the vocals and airy synth chords and melodies. The first melodic verse features rock-style drums and a cool synth riff. The melody carries the listener through the build-up and into the drop. The first drop's got more drum step energy and features a melody that's made up of vocal chops, but there's no clear lyrics here. And there's a synth bass line hiding just under the surface of the mix. The bridge section feels like an expansion of the intro, and I especially enjoy the synth strings that Kayzo introduces in here. Soon we're hit with the second drop. Here we've got a different syncopated halftime groove. The vocal sample melody does change to highlight a different pattern of notes as well. It does help spice the song up, but I gotta say it does feel like a B-side track. The lyrics are simple, the ones we can understand, as the chorus highlights the theme. I think I lost my way somewhere along the way, and the refrain expands on that by exclaiming, "So glad I found you." Track number 17 is entitled Crown of Thorns, featuring Balance. I like the melody at the intro. It's a plucked synth ostinato that feels a lot like a guitar. The vocals are passable, and I like the contrapuntal synth melodies that come in during the verse. They do add a cool sense of layered melodies to the song. These synth melodies take center stage during the drop section. Here we've got an upbeat psytrance infused sound with a stuttering synth bass line and steady kicks. The second part of the drop transitions into a wild dubstep section. We've got insane bass timbres and screams to complement the energy as well. The bridge mimics the intro and blends more screams into the mix. The final drop feels more like it's more subdued, it's more lower energy, with vocal melodies having a bigger presence over the mix. I wasn't able to find lyrics online, but the themes present on the song are uplifting. It seems to be about helping someone rise when they believe they've become a lost cause and they think they've fallen too low. The audible lyrics leading into the final drop do explain it best. So take a look at yourself. Yeah, you created this hell. So you'd risk it all to rise or fall. You've only got one shot. So create your legacy. You can build a new future. Track number 18 is entitled Waste Away, featuring Kala. This song is nothing crazy. The drops are very mad to me. But I must admit, I do like the drum samples used for the instrumental. The vocals are whiny in an emo way, which can be good or bad depending on who you ask. The instrumental also features plenty of guitar chords, and different guitar tones do make appearances throughout the song, which is nice. I also do like the vocal melodies that we hear towards the very end. All in all, it is an angsty tune about loving someone and cherishing every second that you get with them. Track number 19 is entitled Save Me, featuring Spaceman Zach. This song features an upbeat drum step, verses, emo vocals, and a staccato plucked guitar melody that repeats throughout the entire song. The chorus sections switch into a full rock section with extra rhythm guitars and a larger vocal presence. The vocal melodies are at their strongest during the chorus just because they're simple enough to remember after one or two listens. I can already imagine what it would be like to hear this at live performances. And on that note, I would say the vocal performance is alright, but certainly not bad. The theme of the song seems to reiterate similar ideas presented in previous tracks. Finding peace in another person and allowing yourself to be more trusting in them. The pre-chorus puts it nicely. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going, but it's going to be alright. Yeah, I don't know, but you're by my side. And with that, we reach the conclusion of the album, track number 20, entitled Make You Miss Me, featuring Seon. This song has a slower groove, and the production is full of 808-influenced drums. We've got stuttering hi-hats, chopped snares, and dry snares as well, and syncopated kicks. There's a lazy-sounding guitar melody in the background that feels like it's sleepy, partially because of how slow it is in terms of how fast the melody moves, but it's also very detuned in sense of tone. The vocals provided by Seon remind me of the emo rap-influenced inflection. It's alright. There is one drop section that brings in a staccato synth timbre that feels very crispy, and the melody does seem to expand on the guitar melody. It's different and highlights the background chords of the song. It's a sad tune as Seon sings of someone he had a relationship with in the past. It's clear that he misses them, as he explains in the chorus. You said that you'd be there, but you missing. Got me waiting by myself on a star, wishing. Don't come back this time, we can make it right. I'd say it's a somber ending to an overall wild album. And I would say it was a fun album. There's a lot to enjoy here, as the high points are pretty solid. However, I do feel as though the track list is bloated with a handful of songs that could have honestly been cut from the album. I'd say the best cuts appear during the first half, at least the more interesting ones, and I can sense a dip in quality during the second half, although there are some pretty good tunes there. I also do get a sense that some of the songs, the grand majority actually, now that I think about it, feel like they're not fully fleshed out, which can be a strength, just because they're very short. Most of the songs are about 2 minutes long, so they're not that long. But I do think it hurts the album just because some of the songs on the album feel very bare, they feel underdeveloped, especially towards the very end with the last 4 tracks. Regardless, though, the album as a whole is a lot of fun, very high energy, and I look forward to catching Kayzo live later this year. I hope to hear tunes from this album at that show. He's going to be headlining with Knife Party, so that's going to be awesome. My first time seeing them live. There's plenty of songs from New Breed that I would love to mosh to, and I would also love to see where Kayzo goes from here. I think he's gradually refined his style over the last 6 years that he's been constantly putting out new music, and I'm excited to see how his sound will continue to develop. He's one of the more interesting EDM artists to watch from this current wave of music, and I want to see him continue to succeed and deliver awesome tunes. I feel like his sound has gradually got its footing. It feels more stable, feels more polished. So I would love to see what he comes to make in the future. And with all that being said, if you've sat here and listened to me talk about Kayzo and New Breed, I genuinely do appreciate it. I've been congested for the past couple of days, so I hope that doesn't hurt the audio quality at all. Hope things were still kind of clear. And if you've got new music that you're listening to that you really want to share with somebody, you can definitely send that my way. I'll do my best to listen to it. And if you want my feedback, just let me know. I'd be happy to provide that as well. And I, again, just want to say thank you, and I hope that you're having a very wonderful day. Take care of yourself. Drink water. Remember to mask up. COVID cases are still going up, and it's getting pretty scary, but do the best that you can to protect yourself.